Rory, after that layup shot where he hit in the water with a sand wedge, oftentimes people would literally unravel at that late of the stage, making that type of mistake. But Rory didn't. It probably shocked him. He was probably shocked. The world was shocked, but he didn't spiral. He didn't unravel, which could have caused yet another almost victory. We have a thing that we call built to bounce back. And we say mistakes are inevitable. It's going to happen in golf. Golf is such an unforgiving game, but it's the recovery that is trainable.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Mind Your Game podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dustin Donner. Today, we don't only have one other co-host, Dr. Matt Park, but we have another co-host. So that makes three of us now, and that is Sydney Clanton. Welcome, Sydney. Welcome, Dr. Matt. How are y'all doing today?
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Have y'all got the chance to watch the Rory documentary yet on Amazon Prime?
No.
Okay, so I got the chance to watch it last night during dinner. It came out on Monday, and it was talking about kind of the pressures that Rory faced, not only throughout his whole career, but especially being the next Tiger Woods, which not only is that a crazy label, but for everyone to think that he's going to get the Grand Slam, he's going to win every single major extremely fast. And it, of course, took him a while to become the Masters champion, but the biggest thing that I pulled from it was Rory talked about not necessarily the long game or the full swing, but the short game side of golf. So not only chipping, but he specifically talked about putting and how he never found it fascinating. He never found it fun, how it was just boring, repetitive, but can ruin a whole entire round with just one putt. And Dr. Matt, I know we've talked about it, and Sydney, you have some seminars on putting. So I'm wondering, Sydney, you as a professional golfer having these putting seminars, what kind of pressures have you faced on the green specifically when it comes to putting?
So interesting. I remember a conversation with a different sports psychologist, and they were just talking about the impact of putting because it's finale. It's the finale. You normally give a lot of grace to a tee shot because you can recover from it on the second shot. If you hit a poor second shot, you can recover from it from a chip, but putting is it. Like once the putting is done, the hole is done. There's no more recovery. And so we put so much more weight on putting. And it was so interesting because I had never really thought about it like that because he was right. Like I didn't put as much pressure if I hit a poor tee ball because I knew that I was a good iron player, could recover, or I knew I could get it in a position where I could give myself an opportunity. But, I think back when Rory missed the putt on 18 against that duel with Bryson at the US Open in Pinehurst. And it's just like that putt is the putt that he remembers. It has nothing to do with the putts prior to. Now, granted, he missed a pretty short putt on, I think, 15 as well, the par 3. But like, it was so interesting because we put so much more pressure and we put so much more weight. And it's like, why? And to me, that was just clarity, that it was like the finale. There was nothing that you could do once you missed the putt. You had to make the next putt. So like, so I think some of that has to do with like why putting, we put the pressure on it. And for me, that definitely cleared up a lot of things when I was just thinking about putting. And, but like, I get it. I mean, I love watching the Masters. I mean, I love watching golf. I'm a golf nerd, but I remember watching, and it's funny to me, watching the Masters, watching Rory, the shot he should have been frustrated with was the wedge he hit in the bunker. Like, for me, like, if you're Rory McIlroy, I mean, he's a great player, don't get me wrong. He has woes when it comes to hitting wedges as far as like distance control, but I'm like, you hit it 30 yards offline. Great bunker shot. You left a testy 6-footer. I mean, I would have been like, nah, dude, you weren't guaranteed to make that. Like, it was the wedge. It's like, just throw it up there. And so, as a player, it's just like, man, for me, it would have been, not the putt, but like the emotions, which is super fascinating that we put so much pressure on Rory, but Jordan Spieth's in the same boat right now. He has a chance to win a Grand Slam, but no one talks about it. Even right now, they're talking more about Scottie Scheffler winning a Grand Slam than they are about Jordan Spieth. Jordan only has to win the PGA. And it's been like that for a while now. I mean, he won 3 majors pretty quickly in his career, and no one's talked about Jordan winning a Grand Slam. They bring it up every once in a while. It's a really hush hush, but like Jordan has just as much, which is super interesting to me.
Sid, you were talking about how it's that wedge shot. I think it was that par five, and he had
Oh,
it. What's that?
the layup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he laid it up and then he hit that wedge shot into the bunker and or no, there was a wedge shot that Rory hit where he hit in the water.
Yeah, that was the layup.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the par five.
Yeah, that one. Whether it was the wedge shot that hit it in the bunker or the wedge shot that the layup where he actually hit in the water. You and I talk about this. We have a thing that we call built to bounce back. And we say mistakes are inevitable. Like it's gonna happen in golf. Golf is such an unforgiving game, but it's the spiral, right? It's the recovery that is trainable. And for Rory, after that layup shot where he hit in the water with a sand wedge, oftentimes people would literally unravel at that late of the stage, making that type of mistake. But Rory didn't. It probably shocked him. He was probably shocked. The world was shocked, but he didn't spiral. He didn't unravel, which could have caused yet another almost victory, but not yet, not closing it out. So it's fascinating. I don't know if he talked about that at all in the documentary, Dustin, but Rory that day, it was like three double bogeys he made. Like there were so many mistakes. Even on the first hole of the Sunday, he was so nervous. He was about to like puke, he said. He was so nervous and he made a double. He started with the double, but it almost relieved him as opposed to spiraling out of control. So he was able to reframe his mindset, change his perspective after these mistakes. Because again, mistakes are inevitable in golf. They're going to happen. It's just how you recover and bounce back from it.
Yeah, it also reminds me, Dr. Matt, you and I have talked about Rory many years ago when he lost the Masters, when he had it in his hands in the back nine, he lost it. And they were talking about where he went and he watched himself play that whole back nine. Because thanks to the PGA Tour and all their dollars and money, they can go back and watch every shot they've ever played. And even at the Masters, I mean, that how cool technology it is where you can go on the scorecard and literally watch each shot. Like, how did he make a five there? Or he went and he watched his demeanor and he was watching how he was walking. He was watching and he saw that his head was down the whole time. And I don't know exactly what the quote was, but he wanted his chest to face the horizon or wanted his head to be or his chin up. But like, I would be curious to know if even in that documentary, if he talked about it, is if that was part of the reasons why he didn't spiral, because he had gone back of like, hey, like, what was my body language then? Like, what does confidence look like? We've talked about it. Hey, like confidence is something that you can build. Confidence is something that we have to be able to tangibly say, hey, what does it look like? And what does it look like for me? So that I know, one, when I don't look like it, and two, how to get back to looking like it. And it could just be, that chin up. But it's interesting. I would love to know, like in that back nine, because there were so many things that he could have hung his head for. Even just having to go into the playoff. He should have won in regulation, realistically. Rory should have won in regulation in the Masters last year. And he didn't. But like so many times you could have hung your head. And so many players previously, if they'd been in that situation, may have hung their head. But like, was it based on the work that he had done years before, putting him in a position, giving him that opportunity, knowing that, as you said, like the bounce back of like, mistakes are inevitable, and how are you going to handle them?
And I think you both bring up a lot of great points that they actually touch on quite a bit in the documentary, especially with what you were just saying, Sydney, with his body language, kind of shifting that to also have sustainable confidence throughout the round. He talked about it. I think it was when he won the U.S. Open. I think I couldn't remember exactly which major he won, but then he talked about necessarily his body language there, but then he brings it up again when he just won the Masters for the first time. And he was talking about how he had his shoulders back, but also a big thing for him where he knew he was playing Rory golf, as he calls it, was how he interacts with the fans, the caddy, his caddy, just the game in general, and kind of this upbeat demeanor. And I think it was hole 9. He said, if we can have a full backswing and a gap, my caddy and I know we're going for it every single time. All we need is a full backswing and a gap. And I think it was hole 9 where he hit it over a tree onto the green. And necessarily that is when it all changed for him, I think, in that round, from what he was saying. And I'm curious, Dr. Matt, from the sports psych perspective, how do you think with Justin Rose, like last year, he kept on hearing it and he kept on talking about it in the documentary, knowing that Justin Rose was doing well because he was trying not to look at the scoreboard, but he saw the scorecard. He was seeing the scoreboard everywhere, the big whiteboard at the Masters, but also hearing the crowd because Justin Rose was just one hole ahead of him. So how do you feel like that affects someone as well from like the sports psych perspective in your eyes?
We're talking a lot about body language. We're talking a lot about attitude and how Rory put so much emphasis on this. And I think it was at the Congressional. So he was working with Bob Rotella, and Sid, like you said, he was reviewing film and tape, and he noticed that when he unravels and spirals, his body language, his demeanor, it's slumped and he's looking down, his head is down. And so him and his sports psychologist were working on just one thing that week, the week that he won at Congressional. He said, keep my eye above the crowd. So my eye line above the horizon, above the crowd. So what does that mean? So in order for his eyes to be above the crowd and the horizon, he had to be chin up, shoulders back. That was his posture for the week. And at MPGA, we have an acronym that we use called FACE. The 4 elements, the 4 pillars that you can control in golf. That's focus, attitude, commitment, and effort. And so going back to your question, Dustin, when you're hearing the roars of the audience and literally people are having to step out of their putt because it's just so loud and so intense at the Masters, and no one's distracted, right? Nobody has their phone. So it's quiet and then it's just rambunctious. It's like loud and crazy. And then you have the white scoreboards and you have like it's just in your face. So no pun intended, but you got to focus on your face. And Rory, that day when he won that week at Congressional, he was just focused on attitude that entire week, no matter how he was hitting the ball or how his shots were. His main focus was on attitude. And then you grade yourself on attitude. You score yourself. So you're keeping stats and you're keeping track. So you're almost playing like a game within the game. And, you know, our focus is the mental game. So you go in with the mental game plan, whether it be the Masters or the US Open or any tournament, a junior golf tournament. You literally plan it out on, okay, here are the areas on my mental game that I'm struggling with, whether it be my focus, like I'm so distracted, I'm not in the present moment, I'm not executing my pre-shot routine, I'm all over the place with my focus. If I'm going to focus on that, I focus on focus, attitude, body language, confidence, demeanor, gratitude, bouncing back, not necessarily getting bogged down by scores or results. Commitment, this is one of my favorites, like committing fully to every shot, because that's what we can control. And if I focus and have a game plan and I'm playing a game within the game on commitment, and that's all I care about, then no matter what Justin Rose is doing, no matter what the crowd is reacting to, I know my game within the game is on commitment. And then lastly, effort. Effort is this grit, like never, ever giving up. I was talking with a coach from Hong Kong or from China. His name is Coach Brad. Shout out to Coach Brad and all the work he's doing with junior golfers. And he sent me a video on this Scottish player who's on a podcast, and he was just talking about the most important thing for him as a professional golfer was never quitting. Because if I never quit, then I know that I'm going to outperform or outbeat and outlast my competitors. And if I see a little bit of quit in my competitors, like they slam their club, they get emotional, whatever it might be, I feel like I have a mental edge. I feel like I can get ahead as long as I never quit. And so that goes right into the effort formula of face. Regardless of what other people are doing, what the scoreboard says, what the crowd is reacting to, if I play my game, the game within the game, and focus on one of the four elements, then I'm pretty locked in.
And I feel like that point of like never quitting, like you said, you said it was a Scottish player, Dr. Matt.
I believe so. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I had the video and I can share it in the link.
And I feel as though that is exactly what Rory's mindset was to win the Masters. Like a lot of people, not just athletes, but just everyday people, it's after a couple times they just quit. They just stop, throw down the clubs, or necessarily just call it quits. But he continued to persist and go after and chase it even when the results weren't there. So what that shows me when I was watching it from my side of it, from a sports psych perspective, was necessarily it meant more than just the outcome to him. Like it was something else. And you could tell that it was for his family. They talked about his mom and his dad, how when he was a junior golfer coming up, necessarily his mom had to work, I think, all night and the dad worked all day or vice versa, just so they could afford the membership fees, the green fees, all of those different things. And I think just in that moment when you saw him win the Masters in the documentary, it was a win for something bigger than himself. And I know that we talk about that at MPGA of like playing for something that is bigger than you. And I think in that moment, Rory was.
Yeah. Do you guys mind if I share the video? I found it. Maybe I can just kind of broadcast it and share it real quick and we can react to it. So this is it. This player talks about grit and effort and never quitting.
Oh, nice.
And I will never, I don't care if I'm missing the cut, if I've got no chance or no chance, like I'm giving it everything I have until I sink my last putt on the 18th hole. It's just something that's built into me, whereas I just refuse.
That's huge. I love that.
If anyone coming through the ranks, juniors, if anyone can take anything away, there's always going to be someone that's better than you physically. There will always be someone that hits the ball better than you. But there's one thing you can always control, and that's never giving up.
Effort, never giving up.
And this may sound bad, I don't know. But when I see someone give up, there's part of me that feels like, that the other part of me feels like, oh, put him in there.
Remember that?
Yeah, little win. So I'm like, well, he gives up. It's good to know. I mean, I'd never say him out loud, but like,
No.
I'll check it and I'll be like, okay, well, no, he gives up. Good. It's one less guy you need to like worry about.
Interesting. I like that.
Just kind of like when, I used to play football. So when you'd have a defender in your pocket, it's kind of like that. Stuff you don't really talk about out loud, but you notice it.
Yeah. Well, and then when it comes down the stretch one day, that'll be quite good for you to just go, okay, I've got a few more gears to go here.
But then I also know that I'm never giving up, ever. I've never given up on a round of golf.
All right. So just wanted to share that. What were your thoughts and reactions after seeing that? Sid, how about you from a player's perspective and a coach's perspective?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a little similar to me. Like, I loved when the weather was really bad because I knew like half the field was out. Like, I loved when it was windy. I loved when it was rainy. Everyone got frustrated. Like, it's super similar thing. He takes it to an even next step because I definitely can say that I'm guilty of, if I'm totally out of the cut, I'm like, now granted, I try, like if I was out of the cut, I like to try different things because that was the time. Like I had no penalty. I was already out. So like if I wanted to try a shot I normally wouldn't hit, or if I wanted to try more of aggressive line, or if I wanted to try a chip I haven't been comfortable with. So like I kind of used, if I was playing poorly, the opportunities to try different things, because bringing things into tournaments was always different for me. But like I don't disagree with them. I 100% agree that like it is something that you can use because there are players. There are players that are going to be physically better than you. There's going to be players that have. It's interesting. I don't know the article, but I saw something earlier with Justin Thomas saying that he doesn't know his superpower, and I don't know if that was technically within his golf game, but it was just funny. Like all of us have different things that are our things. So whether that is like for this gentleman that was just on, like it was definitely like his bulldog attitude of like, hey, like I don't care what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, like I'm gonna give it my all. And that's kind of like those are the people that like when you see them behind you, you're like, you need to be careful and you keep putting the pedal down. But if you didn't know that about them and you settled, it would be the kind of guy that flew right by you at the end. It's like the if you've ever watched like a marathon runner or a cyclist who think they've won and they've like slowed down and they're celebrating before they get to the line, he's the kind of guy that's going to fly by you because he has like, and so I mean that's a huge testament to kind of his mentality, but that's kind of what I took out of it. I mean, that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, you remember the Olympic free figure skater Alyssa Liu, who's from the Bay Area, and she was interviewed on the 60 Minute interview, and she said, "I love the struggle.
Yeah.
I love the struggle because it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel like I'm doing something hard, and even if you don't love the struggle or the pain." You say that to yourself over enough with enough conviction, you begin to see the good in it. It's like working out. Like we feel pain when we work out, but those who love the pain, like if you look at CrossFit gym, you go to a CrossFit gym and you see a CrossFit athlete or an Ironman athlete or Ironwoman athlete, they love pain because they know they're growing. They know that it's making them feel alive. And I think a lot of us quit when we start feeling the struggle. It's hard. The struggle is not easy. It's not fun. It's messy. Our identity is associated with the mistakes, so we feel really shameful and down and embarrassed. But this bulldog mentality that we just watched, like I never quit. Bring it on. Like I will outrun you no matter what. Kind of reminds me of you, Dustin, and your half marathon training and just the way that you operate in life.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I had a very similar reaction to Sydney, honestly. The first two things she said were the first two things that popped in my head as well. So I guess great minds think alike, and the bulldog mentality for sure stood out to me. People, I think half the people in the world would view that video as he is cocky and arrogant, and then the other half of the world would view that video as he's confident and he knows what he's capable of, and he's willing to go to any part of the world and grind it out with anybody that he faces. That's how I view it. I think nowadays, especially with athletes try very hard to be confident but not cocky. But I think any great athlete has that little piece of arrogance and cockiness to them. And it's not against anyone. It's not for anyone else but themselves and their performance. And it's actually to help other people most of the time. And the other thing that stood out to me from that video and what he was saying was kind of that piece about putting them in his pocket. Like maybe not right then and there it will help, but later down the road, let's say he's paired up with the person and he knows already, pulling from prior experience, okay, my mental toughness is a little bit higher than theirs at least, and it's time to grind it out with them. And I think a lot of the workers or a lot of the golfers, athletes that I work with, like you said, Sydney, I tell the golfers I work with all the time, I say, if it's raining or the weather is terrible, I said, you are already in the top 25% before it even gets started. I was like, a lot of the people you'll play against will fold before it even starts because they're already making excuses beforehand. And I tell people all the time, if you have enough time to complain, you have enough time to change something about it. So would you rather complain or change something about it? Because I think, especially nowadays, not just athletes, but just individuals in general, it's really easy for us to have an opinion and make an excuse. And in those 2 minutes you're making the excuse and complaining, most likely those 2 minutes you could actually change what you're complaining about. or at least change your mindset. Because I think all three of us could agree on you can change your mindset in the span of 1 to 5 minutes. That's usually how long someone complains about something for, is 1 to 5 minutes. So I think he has that. Okay, well, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to go out there and grind until the wheels fall off. And when they do, I'm going to put 4 new wheels on and we're going to get right back after it, because that's the only thing I can control while I'm out here.
Sid, you're about to hop in, but let me just share this real quick. 14 years playing as a professional golfer, and at the end of this kind of long season, you said one thing at the end of it that really resonated with me and it stuck with me. And you said, the fastest way for you to improve your golf performance is working on your mental game. Like, yeah, you can work on your physical game and short game. We always do. But the quickest, fastest, and most effective way to improve your golf game is to work on your mental game. Why is that, you think, for you?
Yeah, I mean, one experience, anytime that I have been working on preparation for the mistakes, because that's one of the things that we use mental as something when we're playing bad to come to, of like, hey, like, I need medicine, doctor, I'm sick, I need medicine. The way that the game works is it's inevitable that you are going to have a slump. I mean, whether you want to say Scotty Scheffler's in a slump right now, I don't know. I don't know if you want to call it that. Obviously, he's not playing at how he was last year, but I mean, obviously last year was a crazy year. And then obviously Tiger Woods being like the example right now. Tiger did something for 20 years that it's kind of hard to imagine, honestly, now that anyone would be able to play that long, that well, that dominant, right? And so, but it's this idea of training and preparing and being prepared and having tools in your tool belt. Like we often talk about having tools in your tool belt for when it does come. But the thing about it is you not only need tools when things are bad, but you need tools when things are good. Hey, like I had a player text me the other day, like, I am not used to making as many birdies this early in a round. I don't know what to do when I'm 6 holes in and I'm 4 under. You know, and people are like, well, what do you mean she didn't know what to do? And it's like, well, no, like there is a preparation of like, hey, like, how do I keep putting pressure on the gas? Like, how do I keep pushing for more? How do I not get comfortable in this place of, hey, like 4 under, if I finish at 4 under, it'd be really good today, right? Well, when we do that, our mentality stalls. We stop making committed swings. So we stop our focus. We stop like the attitude. We get comfortable. We slack, like all these things with like face. You stop doing like those first 6 holes. We had a lot of clarity. We had a lot of focus. We knew what we were doing. But then when it was like, oh shoot, like I'm 4 under, like I'm really comfortable in this position, I might not be comfortable getting to 8 under. Like, I'd be curious to know, obviously, Lydia Ko played great last week and there was a lot of really low scores, but it's just like, hey, like she had an opportunity to shoot 59. We've only had one female ever shoot 59 in competition. That's Annika Sorenstam. And so it's like, hey, like she was probably very uncomfortable in that position. You use mental tools to help you through those situations. It's not just when you start out bogey, 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 or bogey double or whatever, because it's funny. I loved bogey in the first hole of my career. Absolutely loved it. It settled me down. I was ready to go. It's part of my Dow championship. Both Jasmine and I bogeyed the first hole in best ball. I mean, most people are like, why would you bogey at all? But it was one of those things where I was just like, hey, we are good. I'm good. We're good. Don't worry. Where Jasmine was stressed, where I'm like, hey, like I'm in my comfort zone. Like I'm ready to go off to the races, birdie the next hole and it settles me down. But it's the mental tools that get you through those times. It's not the physical. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. Like we go back to talking about Rory and talking about like, hey, if I have a full backswing in a hole, then it kind of set him off of the sense of like, he was using his strengths. He knew that he's an excellent ball striker. He knew that he was an aggressive ball striker. He knew that if he could create it and see it, he would do really well with it. And so when he did have it and when he did freely do it and it worked, that set his mental off. But he was prepared for it. He had set a preparation. That's mental. That's mental training. You have to know. Even just like the confidence, building what confidence looks like, that's mental. It's not physical. There's no physical thing. So some of it is, I just look at it is we as a society and we as athletes have looked as mental of we're playing poorly. And that shouldn't be it. It should be, hey, we need to work on this, because whether you want to say golf is a 50% mental game, well, if it's 50% mental, how are you working on it? Are you working on it 50% of the time? Are you even working on it? And so, like, there's time and effort, but the hardest part that I have found, even with myself, is it is not glamorous. Kind of like Rory with putting. He talked about putting not being glamorous. It wasn't fun. I felt the same way about chipping. Like, I just didn't really enjoy it. I loved hitting golf balls, right? And so, like, when you don't enjoy something, when it's not glamorous, it's hard to do. But the thing about it is you're going to be kicking yourself when you didn't. I kicked myself. I played 14 years, and I can tell you one thing. I wish I'd listened to everyone that told me, hey, Sid, you need to work on short game more. And I was like, no, later, right? And so it's funny, like, it's not necessarily that we're trying to sell you anything. It's this idea of like, hey, like, been there, done that. This will get you further quicker than any amount of reps you put into the physical, because the mental sets you up for the physical. And if you use the mental well, to the point where you can visualize and use all your sensories, you can almost tell your brain and your body what to do, where you don't have to do the physical as much, which, I mean, that's like a deep dive. But like, you're talking about, I've talked to a couple of different people, and Aaron Rodgers, whether you like the guy or not, supposedly he can play out the entire game in every play in his brain. It started with the first play of the game. It then ended up being the first 10 plays of the game, ended up being the first quarter of the game, as he played out every play. He knew every position. He knew where they were going to be. He knew where he was going to pass it. He could visualize it and play out the entire game. That to me is like mind boggling that you could do that. But it's, I mean, it's a skill, and that's something that you have to train. And it starts with the brain.
And I think it also helps with injury prevention too, Sydney. That, like, when it comes to the mental side, and of course there's research backing it. I can't pull from all these peer-reviewed articles right now, but I'll be able to before we post the episode. And necessarily, like, when you work on the mental side and you're so strong mentally, that mental toughness is so high. Like you said, you don't have to use the physical as much, and then it puts less strain and work on the body as well. So when that mind and body connection is tight, the injury prevention, it's a lot harder to have an injury. Of course, injuries happen no matter what. But also, I think, as you were mentioning, the mental side and how important it is, a lot of the athletes I work with, they'll get top 10 or they'll win, and they don't know what to do. Right? So like you were saying, it's not just when the negative shows up or the poor performances show up. And I think a lot of people view sports psychology therapy in that sense of, okay, I only go work with someone if something's going bad. But a lot of people don't know what to do when things are going right. Like, I'll have some people that place in the top 10, or I'll have some junior athletes that win a championship in football and basketball. And then they're like, okay, well, what do I do now? I've never done this before. So do I do the same exact thing? Do I do something different? How do I carry myself? And you also have to work on that side too when the positive results show up. It's not just when negative outcomes happen.
Super interesting, because like Rory talked about not knowing what to do after he won the Masters. He didn't realize how much burden winning the Masters had put on him. He finally wins it. And then is like, plays terrible, doesn't know, not focused. There's no clarity. There's no anything. And so, and some of that, again, he didn't get out of that because of the physical. He got out of it because of a mindset. What was the mindset that he needed? What was the next thing that he wanted to do or accomplish or whatever? And again, that's a mindset thing. Like, he got into a slump because of a mindset. Like, he didn't have the right goals or the right things. And so he didn't fix his play because of physical. He fixed his play because of mindset.
Isn't that similar to your story too, Sid? Where you said, all I wanted to do growing up was to be a professional golfer.
Well, it's funny. I just always said I was going to be a professional golfer. Like, it wasn't that I wanted to. It's just I knew I was going to play on the LPGA. And I now talk a lot when I talk to kids. I'm like, be more specific. because I reached it really quickly. I graduated from Auburn in July or May of 2011, and then I had my card, and I was a rookie on the LPGA Tour in January of 2012. I went to Q School and qualified, and I was there. Never forget, Saturday, first event as an LPGA member. It's Australia. Royal Melbourne couldn't have been a better picturesque, like your first event as a professional in Australia. Beautiful country, beautiful golf course. Royal Melbourne still by far one of my favorite golf courses. And I'm like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And the reality hit right after that event. I finished top 20 in my first event and missed every cut after that. Because for me, and this is hindsight looking back, it was just like I had reached my destination and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have clarity. I didn't know where to turn. So then you listen. My ears perked up. You're listening to anyone that had anything of like, how do I get back? And it's interesting. I don't think I necessarily made poor decisions, but I probably didn't make the best decisions for me at that time. And I probably needed to attach to a sports psychologist, someone that could help me with the right mindset to going into it. I'm like, hey, what do I want to accomplish? How do I want to use this? Where now I look at it as like, man, like what a cool opportunity. Like I'm thankful for the journey that I had a very roller coaster journey because it brought me to salvation. But as far as a golfer and the dreams of wanting to play and be competitive and be out there the whole time, like there's so many things that I had done differently looking back. And some of it is just like this idea of mindset and goals and like, how do we get there and having the right tools in the tool belt to pull on. And I got that way later in my career. And again, so some of it's just like, hey, how do we equip this younger generation with like, hey, like what are great goals? Like what are things that you should achieve? Are they outcome goals? Are they not outcome goals? Are they, this word process get thrown around a lot, which is interesting because I love asking people, well, what is your process? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, then how do you know you're running your process if you don't know your process? And so it's just super fascinating to me. And again, like my biggest encouragement to anyone that would be listening, but anyone in general, is like sports psychology, mindset, any of that has nothing to do with whether you're playing poorly or good. It just has to do with, hey, this is an element of the game that is extremely important. And those that harness it and do it, I think, have more consistent careers. They play better for longer periods of time. They're able to get out of ruts quicker because they know what to do. You know, it's not that we're going to the driving range. I just call it panic practice. We're like, don't go to the driving range for panic practice. Don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, you'll have some epiphany that comes out of it. But like panic practice isn't it. I would say a deep breath, a couple of meditations, like figuring out what the mindset should be for the next thing would be the better practice. But like, it's just such an interesting thing because it's so hard to tell people to work on this because it's not glamorous.
There's so many nuggets of wisdom there. If I were to pull themes from our conversation today, the one word that comes up for me is clarity. It started with a conversation, Dustin, where you were talking about the documentary for Rory. And then we talked about putting, and we talked about the Masters and how distracting the environment is. And then we talked about Congressional, where Rory won and he had clarity of going in with the plan, the game within the game. All he was going to do was focus on his process, knowing what that process is so that you can execute it. And his process was attitude, body language, eye line above the horizon, above the crowd. Now, when one has clarity, then you know what to focus on when things are getting hard or when you're experiencing success, when you're 4 under after 6, and you have clarity of what to focus on. Now, inside our mind, it's like a big black hole. Like it's this universe that we have. And oftentimes the panic practice is when we're shooting in the dark, like trying to make something stick, not knowing, like we're a deer in the headlights in our own mind when we start off double, triple at a very important tournament that you waited your whole life for. Look at that figure skater, the men's figure skater, Iliad, who said, I had every negative thought come to me when he was the favorite winner to win the gold medal for men's figure skating. He had every negative thought come to him, and he was completely blindsided and he was paralyzed, not because of his skill. He was doing backflips. He won world championships leading up to it. He was feeling good. And he just won a gold medal with his team. So now he's doing this individual figure skating competition, and the world is expecting him to win. His skills didn't disappear overnight. He didn't have clarity. He was literally a deer in the headlights, and you saw his performance unravel. Like, it was one of the worst performances he's ever had in a world international stage at the Olympics. And he fell multiple times. And in the end, interviewers were interviewing him, and he was still in shock. He says, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. Like, I need to process this. I need more time. That's mindset. That's all up here.
And speaking of clarity and mindset, as we're kind of like wrapping up today's episode, I know the Masters is in a week. So I'm wondering, my like final question for Sydney and Dr. Matt, I'm curious, let's gain some clarity all together. Who do you all have as your favorite to win the Masters?
Excellent question.
Mm.
Excellent question. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going like Ludwig Oberg.
Oh my gosh. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. Or I'm a sneaky Tommy Fleetwood. Like, this might be the first year that I don't have like a clear like American pick, where I'm just like I saw some stat the other day that said, like, on this one golf ranking, if you're 32 and you're ninth on this golf ranking over the last 5 years, the person has won. And technically that's Bryson. Like, he fits this category. But I think I'm either Tommy or Ludwig. I think those are my picks.
For me, I was immediately thinking of Ludwig.
Yeah.
Because of his demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this year is you're gonna see mental fortitude at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the winner, the person who ends up beating the rest of the field, is going to be mental fortitude, attitude, focus, discipline. And Ludwig, for me, he screams that this season. So that's my pick.
Although I'm super sad that Tommy isn't going to be wearing Masters gear the whole week now that he's officially branded himself with another thing. I'm like super sad. Like, I really enjoyed that he went into the pro shop and bought all this stuff. Well, I don't know if he bought it, but like, I thought that was a genius idea. Like, how awesome would it be is everything with a Masters? I just think that would be cool. So I think he was a little short.
I think he's with Blackstone now, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Is it the Grill Blackstone, or is it like a clothing company?
Never. I'm assuming it's a clothing company, but like, yeah, never heard of them. So
I thought it's like the Blackstone, like the thing you cook on.
Let's see. After he wins the Masters, let's see what commercial comes out.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. I have Max Homa. I have Max Homa to win it.
Oh man.
Really?
Those are some big odds in Vegas there. Some big odds.
I like sneaky picks, and I got a sweet spot in my heart for him. I don't know. Yeah. I couldn't even tell you why, but I think he's just a great family man, and I just love his demeanor. I don't necessarily know if he's the best at controlling emotions on the course, but I would say that he has a lot of resemblance to like what I was talking about with Rory, where if he has one good shot, not just his confidence, but he loves to play when he's laughing, giggling, and using that. And I'm the same way. So I think that's why I have a sweet spot for him. So I feel as though my underdog pick is Max Homa. So I say we all throw $10 on each of the people that we picked. We'll see who comes out on top.
I don't even have $10, Dustin. So
I was still getting over that he relates to the giggly. I just didn't. I didn't that he
Yeah. Hey,
Dustin
bulldog-
identifies as
bull-
giggly. Like that
Yeah.
to me is a little.
Hey, bulldogs can be giggly.
Okay.
So
Hey,
I know I
I'll
got
take
2
your
dogs
word.
myself, but the next one I want is an English bulldog. So if that tells you anything, they
Let's go.
snore. You don't have to walk them all the time, and you can cuddle them. So you can be a bulldog, but you can also be cuddly and snore a little bit.
There you go.
I hear you. I hear you.
But awesome. To wrap up the episode, thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Dr. Matt, for joining. And to all the listeners, thank you all for either watching or listening to this episode of the Mind Your Game podcast. We are now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please feel free to check out all of our other episodes as well. Thank you again for listening, and happy Masters Week.